You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Risk and compliance shouldn't slow your business down. Hyperproof helps you automate controls, integrate real-time risk workflows, and build a centralized system of trust so your teams can focus on growth, not spreadsheets. From faster audits to stronger stakeholder confidence, Hyperproof gives you the business advantage of smarter compliance. Visit www.hyperproof.io to see how leading teams are transforming their GRC programs. CISA warns organizations of potential cyber threats from Iranian state-sponsored actors. Scattered Spider targets aviation and transportation. Workforce cuts at the State Department raise concerns about weakened cyber diplomacy. Canada bans Chinese security camera vendor Hickvision over national security concerns. Cisco Talos reports a rise in cybercriminals abusing large language models. macOS malware Poseidon Stealer rebrands. Researchers discover multiple vulnerabilities in Bluetooth chips used in headphones and earbuds. The FDA issues new guidance on medical device cybersecurity. Our guest is Debbie Gordon, co-founder of CloudRange, looking beyond the stack, why cyber readiness starts with people. And an IT worker's revenge plan backfires. It's Monday, June 30th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great to have you with us. CISA, along with the FBI, NSA, and Department of Defense Cyber Crime Center, has issued a fact sheet warning organizations about potential cyber threats from Iranian state-sponsored or affiliated actors. While there's no current evidence of a coordinated Iranian cyber campaign targeting the U.S., officials note increasing activity from Iranian hackers and hacktivists in recent months, expected to escalate amid current geopolitical tensions. These actors often exploit unpatched software, known vulnerabilities, and weak or default passwords on Internet-connected devices. The agencies urge critical infrastructure operators to take immediate precautions, including disconnecting operational technology from public Internet access, enforcing strong unique passwords, applying all software patches, and using phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. These steps aim to strengthen defenses and reduce exposure to opportunistic or targeted Iranian cyber operations. The Scattered Spider hacking gang is now targeting the aviation and transportation sectors, cybersecurity firms warned. This mostly Western English-speaking group has attacked grocery suppliers, retailers, and insurance companies in the U.S. and U.K. Hawaiian Airlines recently reported a cybersecurity incident affecting its IT systems, while Canadian airline WestJet faced similar issues last week. Though WestJet didn't confirm Scattered Spider's involvement, sources suggest they were behind it. Google's Mandiant Consulting and Palo Alto Networks warned that the group's attacks resemble past operations and urged airlines to harden systems immediately. Scattered Spider is known for combining social engineering with exploiting known security vulnerabilities. Despite arrests last fall, U.S. law enforcement has struggled to curb their activities. Planned workforce cuts and a reorganization at the U.S. State Department are raising concerns about weakened cyber diplomacy. Secretary of State Marco Rubio aims to cut up to 2,000 employees and restructure the Bureau of Cyberspace and Digital Policy. This comes despite a federal court injunction blocking broad layoffs across agencies. Staff were told to update resumes by June 13th, and managers reviewed personnel files in preparation. Critics warn the cuts could fracture the Cyber Bureau's mission, reducing its ability to coordinate with allies and agencies like Cyber Command, especially as cyber threats rise from adversaries such as Iran and China. Analysts say breaking up the Bureau's cybersecurity and economic portfolios will undermine efficiency and direct leadership reporting. House Democrats argue this threatens U.S. international cyber policy coordination. Even if layoffs are blocked, Rubio may proceed with reorganization under a separate directive, leaving the Bureau's future uncertain. Canada has banned Chinese CCTV vendor Hickvision from operating in the country and selling to federal institutions due to national security concerns. Industry Minister Melanie Joly ordered Hickvision Canada to cease operations following a security review under the Investment Canada Act. The government is investigating to ensure no federal agencies still use Hickvision products. While the ban does not cover private businesses or individuals, Canadians are urged to reconsider purchases. Hickvision faces global scrutiny for alleged human rights abuses and security risks, including bans or removals in the US, UK, Australia, India, and Europe. In the US, Hickvision was banned from government contracts and placed on the entity list for its role in surveillance of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, accusations the company denies. This Canadian ban follows Quebec's 2023 prohibition on Hickvision products in government settings. Cisco Talos reports a rise in cybercriminals abusing large language models to enhance attacks. Criminals use three main methods: uncensored models like Onion GPT and White Rabbit Neo that generate phishing emails or hacking tools, custom-built LLMs such as Worm GPT, Dark GPT, and Fraud GPT, advertised on the dark web to create malware and phishing content, and jailbreaking legitimate LLMs like ChatGPT through prompt injection techniques to bypass safety guardrails. Criminals use LLMs for programming ransomware, creating phishing pages, verifying stolen credit cards, and scanning for vulnerabilities. Some distribute backdoored models on platforms like Hugging Face to infect users. Cisco warns that LLMs are becoming a force multiplier for cybercrime, making attacks more efficient rather than inventing new cyber weapons. Interestingly, Talos found some dark web sellers like FraudGPT's alleged developer scamming buyers with non-existent malicious AI products. Cyfirma reports that Poseidon Stealer, a macOS targeting malware as a service, has been rebranded as Odyssey Stealer. Odyssey spreads via click-fix campaigns on spoofed finance, crypto news, and fake Apple App Store sites. Users are tricked into running a base64 command in Terminal, which executes malicious Apple script to steal device passwords and keychain credentials. Odyssey targets cryptocurrency wallets like Electrum, Coinomi, and Exodus, as well as browsers including Safari, Chrome, and Firefox. It harvests passwords, payment info, session cookies, and autofill data. It also steals files from desktop and documents folders, archiving them into a zip file for exfiltration. The control panel, mostly hosted in Russia, offers features like cookie-based session hijacking and guest demos for buyers. Cyfirma advises blocking script execution, using app whitelisting, and only downloading apps from official or verified sources to mitigate this growing macOS threat. Researchers at German security firm ERNW have discovered multiple vulnerabilities in Aroha Bluetooth chips used in headphones and earbuds from brands like Sony, Marshall, and Beyerdynamic. The flaws stem from a custom protocol in Aroha's SDK that allows attackers to read or write RAM and flash storage without authentication. Exploitation is possible over both Bluetooth Low Energy and Bluetooth Classic, even without pairing. Attackers within Bluetooth range could hijack headphones, eavesdrop on audio, read media data, extract phone numbers, or rewrite firmware for full code execution, enabling wormable exploits. These attacks are likely to target high-value individuals such as journalists or diplomats. Aroha has fixed the vulnerability in its latest SDK, but ERNW warns no vendors have released firmware updates yet, leaving many devices exposed. The FDA has issued new final guidance on medical device cybersecurity, replacing its 2023 version. The updated document reflects expanded authority under Section 524B of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, requiring that any Internet-connected cyber device include cybersecurity details in pre-market submissions. The guidance mandates elements like software bills of materials, vulnerability management plans, and demonstration of reasonable assurance of cybersecurity. Experts note this merges previous guidance with statutory updates into one cohesive document, clarifying that cybersecurity is integral to safety and effectiveness determinations. It explicitly covers debug ports, wireless modules, and access controls, widening regulatory scope. While the FDA aims to enhance device security amid rising healthcare cyber threats, experts warn that recent budget cuts and staffing losses could slow reviews. Researchers emphasize that manufacturers must prioritize security in design and documentation to avoid delays and reduce post-market risks, as nearly all modern devices now qualify as cyber devices. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Debbie Gordon, co-founder of CloudRange. We're looking beyond the stack, why cyber readiness starts with people. And an IT worker's revenge plan backfires. Stay with us. And now, a word from our sponsor, CloudRange. At CloudRange, they believe cybersecurity readiness starts with people, not just technology. That's why their proactive simulation-based training helps security teams build confidence and skill from day one. By turning potential into performance, they empower SOC and incident response teams to respond quickly, smartly, and in sync with evolving threats. Learn how CloudRange is helping organizations stay ahead of cyber risks at www.cloudrange.com. And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire. Debbie Gordon is co-founder of CloudRange, and in today's sponsored Industry Voices segment, we look beyond the stack, why cyber readiness starts with people.
So the human element, it's funny, when I think about the last 10 years, the human element 10 years ago wasn't a thing. You had security leaders who thought that technology could solve all problems or compliance could solve all problems. But it wasn't until maybe 7 or 8 years ago that it became, trendy for good reason to focus on people in cybersecurity, because they are, in fact, the weakest link in the chain. They are the last line of defense. And I'm not just talking about the users in an organization who you don't want clicking on a phishing email. I'm talking about the cybersecurity practitioners in a security operations center who are incident responders also. Those people are the ones who are the last line of defense, and they are the most important piece of the security stack. And so, to answer your question, there's so much focus on AI and automation, but like with any innovation, it just raises people up to do different work, but you still need those people to be overseeing the work that got automated by the innovation. Same thing with, whether it's the wheel or the internet. It all requires people still overseeing it. And I think that, every day we're seeing an exponential increase in the use of AI, and that requires an exponential increase in people who know how to decipher the accuracy of AI, how to think critically, and how to manage it, how to tell it what to do, and how to do it. And so people are so important, and just people say, "Oh, are there? You're going to not need humans anymore." That's absolutely not true.
And from your perspective, the organizations that are being effective here, who are seeing success, are there
Mhm.
common elements to the way that they approach this?
Yes. So organizations who are taking a proactive and preemptive approach to cybersecurity are being a lot more successful. So many security leaders, probably everyone listening, feels like they're playing whack-a-mole constantly. They're
Hmm.
just trying to stay ahead. There's new technologies, things are moving quickly. The attack surface is growing. Things are just getting more complex. They can't necessarily stay ahead and of what they need to know in terms of the tactics that the bad guys are using and the technologies they need to consider on how to defend against them. There's so much out there. So it's imperative, the ones that are being proactive and preemptive, they have to make a really an intentional decision, that they're going to be strategic about their approach. And so the ones that are being more successful are saying, okay, we're going to be proactive. We're going to get our people trained in a constant way. You can't just think for things to happen to see if people know what they're doing. And so, by having an intentional methodology around training, upskilling, and even security awareness to the general users, that is where organizations are being most successful. Where we see organizations flailing in the market is when they're just trying to be reactive and they can't keep up. But when you have a plan and you execute on that plan, things are a heck of a lot easier.
How do you approach that person who feels as though they're flailing? Like, we have barely enough bandwidth to keep our heads above water, to mix metaphors. Like, what does the transition look like from that mode to one where you feel like you have your arms around this?
That's a great question. And if you think about anything that you felt, and it's not specific to cybersecurity, just any human, anything in human nature where a person feels overwhelmed, right? They usually don't have a plan. They don't. You talk about eating one bite of the elephant at a time. That's how you eat an elephant. You have to eat it one bite at a time. They don't know what that bite is, and so with Cloud Range, when we talk to customers and prospective customers, CISOs come to us because they know that we have something that's not just another Band-Aid. It's not just a tool in their stack. It's actually something that they can integrate into their program proactively and sleep better at night. And we see that all day long, because when you know that your team is proactively preparing and you can see on a report what TTPs that they've defended against, what threat vectors that they've successfully defended against, when you know that you could go tell your board tomorrow that you have successfully defended against XYZ attack in a simulation, and this is not going to happen to us. That's comfort, and people want to feel comfort. And as much as we're in the technology world, security leaders are humans, and they want to feel safe. They want to, and I don't mean safe from a cybersecurity perspective. I mean safe, like that their job is being done, and they feel safe knowing that their team is ready when something happens. And so we use simulation for that, and they honestly sleep better at night.
I think it's a really interesting insight that if what I hear you saying is that you kind of ignore that emotional element, that human element at your own peril, that you can't pretend like that isn't a part of all of our day-to-day lives.
It absolutely is. Purpose drives us all. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy, we all want to have a purpose. We all need to eat and have shelter and be protected. But at the end of the day, we need to serve a purpose. And when people are flailing, they don't know if they're serving a purpose. That's the thing. They very well may be, but they need evidence of that. And so I love when we can sit down with a CISO or a CIO at one of our customers and show them how much they have actually reduced risk in their company, and they can see how they've done it. They can see that their team has improved on their time to detect and time to respond on a list of different attack scenarios, and they can see a very tangible benefit, and that makes them feel comfortable, confident, and safe.
For folks who aren't familiar with attack simulation, this notion of virtual cyber range attack simulation, how do you describe it?
So first off, this Cloud Range was the first virtual cyber range platform. And a cyber range people think of a cyber range as different things. Sometimes people think of a cyber range as a place you go and do an incident response exercise. Or in the military, a cyber range, I'm using air quotes, is an event. It's not even necessarily the technology, it's an event. But what Cloud Range developed is a virtual cyber range, which is a cloud-based representation of an actual enterprise environment, a multi-segment environment. Think of it as a sandbox or a safe place. Think about a flight simulator, a safe place. You're not going to crash your real plane, but you can practice doing really dangerous things. So we developed this environment, and our customers are able to go into that environment, looks and feels like their own. And there's industry leading tools in there, different SIMs and firewalls and EDRs. And that's the environment itself. That's not useful without content. Content is that's the attack. So we have a team that is designing, scripting, and releasing attacks so that our customers can be proactive and preemptive by defending against those attacks in a safe environment. In this cyber range, there's live traffic, both good and bad traffic. They don't know when a SOC team logs into the range. They don't know what they're looking for, because just like in real life, the bad guys don't call you and say, "Hey, we're about to attack you." You don't know what you're looking for, and this gives organizations the ability to be proactive on an ongoing basis, and rather than just having to learn on the job, which can be extremely dangerous and risky and very inefficient.
Help me understand how something like this gets integrated into an organization. I mean, is this what's the cadence of actually interacting with something like this?
So, in terms of integrating it into an organization, I'll divide this into two parts. There's no technical integration because it actually sits completely segregated from an organization's network. So, we're not touching anything. We can blow up malware. We can do whatever we want and reset it within a matter of minutes. So, it's very safe. In terms of integrating it into the business itself, that's where it takes a really great leader to say, we're going to be strategic about this and we're going to put a proactive plan in place. So our customers, a lot of Fortune 500 customers, financial services, manufacturing, energy, insurance, and healthcare, they are incorporating this into their security program in the sense that at least once a month they have access to the range anytime they want, but they plan and execute on going through a different simulation at least once a month. You can do more than that. You can do less than that. It's like going to the gym. The more you go, the better.
Right.
5 days or 3 days is 3 days is better than one. 5 days is better than three. But all of it's better than none. And so it's not about, we want to give them the exposure, and the more they do, the better, because again, then they can be confident and have the metrics to show that they have successfully detected and responded to these attacks. And it's going to make them safe. What's really important here is that the attacks that we develop are done so as a result of the threat intelligence that we get. So we have a whole library of attacks. They don't go out of style. The bad guys are still using them. However, when we hear about new intelligence, so for example, when Volt Typhoon happened, we were able to recreate that and roll it out to our customers. Same with Salt Typhoon. So, and then various flavors of ransomware. So we put those out there, and our customers are really always looking forward to what's next, because they know that could happen to them, and that they'll be ready for it as soon as they go through it. The other piece is that, there's both OT and IT. And, most people think about IT in terms of cybersecurity, but we're hearing more and more about OT and operational technology, industrial control systems, critical infrastructure. That's something we've also built, and we have virtualized OT environments for our OT customers. So they're using OT and IT, and those attacks are even a bit different, because those are ones that may come from the IT side over to the OT side, or vice versa. And those types of companies, they have their own struggles, because sometimes they don't even have agreement internally on whose job cybersecurity is. And that's for a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like there's an opportunity here, using air quotes, to fail or to succeed, but to do either within this safe space where you can see how you would do in the real world, but there are not the consequences that you would get in the real world.
Exactly. That's why this is being adopted so readily by organizations. 8 years ago, a virtual cyber range didn't exist. So when we built this, it was something that the market didn't necessarily ask for right away, because it didn't exist. But now that the market knows it's there, you can't not have it. Imagine, when the flight simulator was invented. Do you think that flight schools just said, "Yeah, I don't think we need that. Let's just put them in the airplane"? They can't not have
Right.
it. And same thing with the iPhone. Before the iPhone was invented, people didn't say, "Hey, I wish I could have some device where I could email people and take pictures and track my diet and my heart rate and my sleep." No, they didn't ask for it, because it had never existed. So now it's getting asked for.
What are your recommendations for someone who thinks like they may want to head down this path? What's the best way to get started and to see how this would work with their own organization?
So for somebody who wants to go down this path, first off, that's obviously the right thing to do. They're being proactive, and we're hearing a lot about proactive and preemptive security, and this is a fundamental part of it. So at Cloud Range, we work with customers to put a program together. We have what we call missions. We have customers go through an actual simulation with their security team, and they actually get to see how it's done, and they get to watch them in action. And I'll tell you, when I see them, and I haven't done it in a while, but early in the early days, I had the luxury of observing some of the exercises and the missions that our customers went through, and it was amazing seeing the security analysts blossom when they were going through a simulation, because all of a sudden you see their confidence go up, because people are afraid to do things in a real environment. They might mess up. But when they know it's safe and they do something and they see that it was right, they're automatically boosted, and they're going to be a lot more productive when they go back to their seat. So we encourage, anyone who wants to do this. First off, it really is a strategic initiative by organizations. We don't really think about this as just a training plan, because training is sometimes once and done. This is ongoing, because everything changes every day in cybersecurity. So it's ongoing. We have 95% year over year customer retention. because they're never finished. There's always more things to defend against. So we show you what those are. We give you, an opportunity to get on the range and have your team go through it, and you get actual results. And it's a great way to start.
That's Debbie Gordon, co-founder of CloudRange. And now, a word from our sponsor, CloudRange. At CloudRange, they believe cybersecurity readiness starts with people, not just technology. That's why their proactive simulation-based training helps security teams build confidence and skill from day one. By turning potential into performance, they empower SOC and incident response teams to respond quickly, smartly, and in sync with evolving threats. Learn how CloudRange is helping organizations stay ahead of cyber risks at www.cloudrange.com. And finally, in a cautionary tale for managers everywhere, a British IT worker decided suspension wasn't enough drama for the week. Mohammed Umar Taj, clearly displeased with his July 2022 suspension, swiftly launched a cyber attack against his employer, altering login credentials and sabotaging daily operations. The firm, with clients in the UK, Germany, and Bahrain, reported at least £200,000 in losses, plus the general inconvenience of having their systems turned into Taj's personal revenge sandbox. Police found he even kept recordings of his exploits, presumably for his villain highlight reel. Taj pleaded guilty and was sentenced to just over 7 months in jail. West Yorkshire Police noted his antics rippled far beyond the UK. The moral to the story? Well, don't anger your IT guy, or at least revoke his admin privileges before HR breaks the bad news. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're conducting our annual audience survey to learn more about our listeners. We're collecting your insights through the end of this summer. There's a link in the show notes. Please do check it out. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilby is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.